Picture this for a moment. You stop texting. You stop explaining yourself. You stop chasing. And in that stillness, something subtle but powerful begins to shift. The energy between you changes, not with words, not with confrontation, but with presence. That silence, that absence, it starts to speak louder than any message you could send. Because the truth is, a man's presence is often felt most deeply when it's no longer there. When your attention, once so freely given, suddenly disappears, she feels it in ways she doesn't fully understand. It's not about punishment or pride. It's about awareness. You finally stopped giving your energy to someone who didn't value it the same way you did. You've stopped trading your peace for validation. Silence isn't weakness. It isn't surrender. Silence is control. It's focus. It's the moment when a man learns that not everything deserves his reaction. When you step back with calm confidence, she feels uncertainty not because you're playing games, but because your absence forces her to see the balance shift. She begins to sense the strength behind your quiet. The peace in your distance. And that's the beauty of silence, it demands respect without a single word spoken. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it simply is. In that space, you begin to see yourself differently too. You start to realize how much power you gave away just by over-explaining, by trying too hard to be understood. Now, you no longer need to prove anything. You let your composure speak for you. That's when she feels it, the weight of your absence, the calm in your restraint. Because silence, when chosen from strength, becomes the loudest form of presence there is. Most women are used to setting the rhythm in a connection. They text, and you respond. They pull away, and you chase harder. They question something, and you rush to explain. That pattern becomes their comfort zone, a silent agreement that she leads the dance, and you follow. But the moment you stop moving to that rhythm, the entire dynamic shifts. It's like she's been playing a game where she always knows your next move, but now, the board is empty and you've gone quiet. Suddenly, she's no longer sure what comes next. That uncertainty creates tension, and that tension is what begins to wake her up. See, control isn't about who's louder or who holds more power, it's about predictability. When you're predictable, she feels safe in her position. She knows that no matter what she does, you'll respond. You'll show up. You'll chase. That's where she draws her sense of control. But when you withdraw your energy and stop reacting, you break that illusion completely. The rhythm she depended on fades, and she begins to feel the absence of that control. It's not anger that hits her first, it's confusion. She starts to wonder what changed, what went wrong, and why her usual moves aren't working anymore. And that's when she begins to notice you again, not because you did something new, but because you finally stopped doing what she expected. You shifted from being part of her routine to being part of her thoughts. That's the real power of silence, it disrupts patterns. When you no longer dance to her tune, she's left standing alone on the floor, questioning how the music stopped. And in that quiet, she realizes that the power she thought she had was only borrowed from the attention you kept giving. When a man goes silent, something powerful happens inside a woman's mind, curiosity begins to rise. At first, it's small, almost unnoticeable. She tells herself you're probably busy, that you'll text later, that nothing's changed. But as time passes and that silence stretches longer than she expected, her thoughts begin to drift. She starts to wonder where you are, what you're doing, and why the man who once responded instantly has suddenly gone quiet. That curiosity starts softly, but it doesn't fade, it grows. It lingers in the background of her mind like an unfinished song. Humans are wired to crave closure, to fill in the blanks when something doesn't make sense. Your silence becomes that blank space. She replays old conversations, trying to find clues she might have missed. She scrolls through your social media, checking your posts, your stories, your activity, searching for signs that explain your distance. Every unanswered question becomes a spark that keeps her thoughts burning. And the more she tries to solve it, the more invested she becomes in understanding what changed. That's the psychological pull of curiosity, it refuses to let go. It's not just about missing you, it's about the mystery you've created by no longer being predictable. You've stopped giving her emotional certainty, and now she's chasing answers instead of attention. What was once routine has turned into something unknown, and the unknown always demands focus. Without realizing it, she starts to think about you more often than she did when you were present. That's the irony, your silence speaks louder than your words ever did. By removing your voice, you've made her listen more closely than she ever did before. Every woman carries a story about herself, a story shaped by her past experiences, attention she's received, and the way men have treated her. It's the story that says, men chase me. Men don't walk away from me. I'm the one who decides when things end. That story becomes part of her identity, something she believes without question. But when you go silent, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop reacting, you quietly challenge that entire narrative. Your silence becomes a mirror, one she didn't ask for but can't ignore. And when she looks into it, she doesn't see the reflection she's used to seeing. At first, she tries to brush it off. Maybe she tells herself you're being immature, or that you've lost interest. But the longer your silence continues, the harder it becomes to dismiss. Doubt begins to slip in. Questions form in the quiet corners of her mind. Did I do something wrong? Why isn't he reacting the way others do? Why doesn't he need my attention like before? These questions start to challenge the version of herself that once felt untouchable. She begins to realize that the validation she took for granted has stopped coming, and that realization stings. Your silence, in that sense, isn't meant to hurt, it's meant to reveal. It shows her that your attention was never a guarantee, never a right she owned, but a choice you made. And now that it's gone, she sees its value more clearly than ever. That's the paradox of silence, it doesn't attack her ego, it exposes it. It forces her to confront the uncomfortable truth that your presence wasn't something she controlled. It was something she had the privilege to experience, and now she's realizing what it means to lose it. Silence doesn't just make her think, it makes her feel, and those feelings often speak louder than any logic could. When you stop reaching out, when your presence fades without warning, her mind starts to wander into places she can't control. She begins to fill in the blanks with her imagination. Is he with someone else? Did he lose interest? Was I not enough? These thoughts creep in slowly at first, but as the silence stretches, they grow louder, heavier, harder to ignore. The uncertainty that once felt thrilling now becomes unsettling. The confidence she carried so easily begins to shake because the stability she found in your attention is gone. This is where the discomfort of insecurity sets in. She may not show it, she might even act indifferent, but inside, her emotions are racing. The same woman who once felt secure and sure of your attention now starts to question her place in your life. And it's not because you've done anything dramatic or cruel, it's because you've removed the certainty she relied on. That predictability she took for granted has vanished, leaving her alone with her thoughts. Think about a man like Aaron, who used to always reply instantly, always available, always giving reassurance. When he finally pulled back, not in anger but in peace, his silence spoke volumes. His girlfriend didn't panic right away, but within days, she began to feel the weight of that stillness. Her mind couldn't rest. That's what silence does, it quietly unsettles the heart that once felt too comfortable. Because when certainty disappears, insecurity rises. And that emotional shift is powerful. It's not manipulation, it's balance being restored. It's her realizing that attention is never guaranteed, and that the security she once felt came from a man who chose to give it, not one she controlled. Silence has a way of awakening emotions people don't expect, and one of the strongest among them is jealousy. When you go quiet, her imagination begins to take over, and imagination is far more dangerous than any truth. In that quiet space, she begins to picture things. Maybe you're talking to someone new, maybe you're laughing with another woman, maybe your attention, once directed solely at her, now belongs to someone else. Even if none of it is true, the possibility is enough to stir something deep within her. That uncertainty mixes with curiosity and turns into jealousy, a burning question she can't answer, a tension she can't ease. She might try to hide it at first, pretending your silence doesn't bother her. But deep down, it does. She starts checking your online status, noticing who you follow, who likes your posts, or when you're active. Every little sign becomes something for her mind to analyze. And in that process, she starts to feel something she hasn't felt in a while: fear. Fear that she's losing the place she once held. Fear that someone else now occupies the space she used to take for granted. Here's where most men make mistakes: they either flaunt other women to provoke jealousy or rush to explain themselves when she reacts. Both ruin the effect. The real strength lies in your calm. You don't need to prove anything, and you don't need to deny anything. Let your silence do the work. Because jealousy, by itself, is proof that she still cares, that your absence carries weight, that your energy still matters. And when you stay grounded in the face of that emotion, you shift from being the boy she controlled to the man she quietly respects and cannot ignore. Respect is the foundation of attraction, the backbone of every lasting connection. Without it, love eventually fades, no matter how strong the spark once was. The truth is, most men don't lose respect because they're unworthy or weak, they lose it because they overgive. They pour their time, effort, and energy into someone who hasn't earned it. They make themselves too available, too accommodating, too eager to please. Over time, that constant giving dulls their value. The woman stops seeing strength in their kindness and starts seeing predictability instead. She stops respecting what she no longer has to work for. But when you step back, when you stop chasing and start holding your ground, everything changes. Your silence becomes your boundary. It's not cold or cruel, it's composed. It shows her that you no longer operate from desperation or the need to be liked. You've remembered who you are, and you've stopped bending to emotions that don't serve your peace. That shift doesn't go unnoticed. She may not say it, but she feels it. She begins to see a man who doesn't beg, doesn't explain, and doesn't lose control when things get uncertain. That quiet steadiness is rare, and it commands respect without demanding it. The moment she realizes she can't move you with moods, guilt, or silence of her own, she begins to see you differently. You've shown her strength without saying a word. You've proven that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. Respect doesn't return through arguments or explanations, it rebuilds through presence, through discipline, through the power of walking away when something no longer aligns. That's when she starts to understand that your silence wasn't distance, it was dignity. And dignity, once recognized, always brings back respect. After the emotional storm, after control slips, curiosity rises, insecurity stirs, jealousy burns, and respect begins to rebuild, something inevitable happens: the pursuit changes direction. The same woman who once had you chasing now starts to move toward you. It doesn't always happen with a grand gesture. Sometimes it's subtle, a text that says, "Hey, how have you been?" or a comment on your post. Sometimes it's more direct, like her suddenly suggesting to meet or checking if you're still around. However it shows up, the meaning is the same: she's feeling the absence of your presence, and she's drawn back to the energy you reclaimed. This moment surprises many men because they've spent so long chasing that they don't recognize when the chase flips. They think her message is casual, but it's not. It's curiosity mixed with desire, wrapped in vulnerability. She wants to know if the door is still open. But this is where your discipline matters most. When she comes forward, your instinct might be to rush back, to give all the attention you once withheld. That's what most men do, and that's how they lose the progress they made. The key is balance. Meet her energy, but don't overextend. Be warm but not desperate. Respond, but don't revert to old patterns. Let her earn her way back into your life just as you had to earn your peace in her absence. This is the stage where emotional maturity separates the strong from the impulsive. The goal isn't revenge or control, it's stability. You've already proven your strength through silence, now you must prove your wisdom through restraint. Because if you handle this stage with composure, you'll never have to chase again, the energy you hold will keep drawing her back naturally. The deepest transformation that comes from silence isn't about what she feels, it's about what you gain. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop trying to prove your worth to someone else, something remarkable happens inside you. You begin to reclaim your peace. You start to realize how much energy you've wasted trying to control outcomes, trying to be understood, or trying to earn love that should have flowed freely. In that quiet space, where her attention used to be your focus, you start to hear something more important: your own thoughts, your own needs, your own strength. The noise fades, and clarity begins to take its place. You learn that silence isn't emptiness, it's power. It's the space where you rebuild your self-respect brick by brick. You stop seeking validation from her reactions, and you begin to find it in your own reflection. You understand that peace doesn't come from being chosen, it comes from choosing yourself. That realization shifts everything. You no longer respond out of fear of losing her, you respond out of alignment with your truth. You no longer chase attention, you attract it naturally through confidence and calm. And the most beautiful part? You no longer need her to come back. Whether she does or doesn't, you remain centered. That's the freedom silence gives, a freedom that can't be taken away, only earned through discipline and patience. It teaches you that your worth was never defined by someone else's recognition, but by your own self-awareness. Silence becomes your teacher, your armor, and your peace. It's not about revenge, manipulation, or ego. It's about standing so firmly in who you are that no rejection, no distance, and no silence from anyone else can shake your foundation again.